I will not be commenting on the specifics of the dispute, rather, I would like to share my concerns as a casual viewer of NOC's channel and what we can learn from the NOC saga. So a quick recap of the saga, it started with posts on social media showing one of the co-founders of NOC, Sylvia Chan, verbally abusing her employees. Granted, even though the saga was started by anonymous claims against Sylvia, which we now know was by an external person, in my view, I think that's a big mistake to use the online community as sort of like a battleground to wage war on each other and trying to sway public opinions and discredit the other side. There are two lessons which we can learn from this NOC saga. The first is NOC should hire a public relations specialist to handle the media so that they can preserve their online business and their online viewers' interests. Let's take a big tech names for example, Google, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft. Do they have criticisms about how they run their business? Or personal attacks against their CEOs and founders? Big yes! But their communication with the public has always been professional to preserve their billion-dollar businesses. And we don't see Mark Zuckerberg using his personal Facebook account to rage at the ex-employee who testified in Congress against Facebook. Well, unless you're Elon Musk, we shouldn't also use our personal Twitter accounts to respond to criticisms too. Rather, in times of a public relations crisis, every public communication has to be timely and well thought through, be it through a public statement or by the founders themselves, so that the business is protected. And that can be good for us too, so that we can continue to enjoy their products and services. This can also be applied in NOC's case for people like you and me who watch their videos. A bad example would be our old friend SPH CEO who took umbrage at a reporter and personally lashed out at her during a public media event, and he later apologized for his remarks. I did a video on how he could improve his tone, and you can check out in the video description below. This is another lesson why we should refrain from responding when we are provoked, especially in public space, which we may later regret. It's best that we leave it to a professional PR specialist to advise what should be the next best move, because ultimately, we all want to enjoy doing business and live peacefully with each other. Secondly, what we can learn is that NOC should take their disputes back internally. Like many other big tech companies out there, they do have disputes, especially at the senior management level, but all those disputes are kept away from the public view. Especially in the heat of a public dispute, both parties may feel like harming and strangling each other, but looking at the big picture again, that would be a very regretful mistake. If both Ryan and Sylvia had came out together and with a public company statement saying that they would be looking into the accusations and take any disputes that they have between themselves back internally, then as directors of NOC, they would be doing the right thing to protect the online reputation of their business, bearing in mind that their online business is built on viewers watching their online videos. It also shows everyone that they are still working together as one to fix things. Now, to be clear, I do not support workplace harassment. I believe that these issues must be surfaced at the right forum, and the online community, in my opinion, isn't the right forum because things can be taken out of context easily and the company could lose control of the discussion, which is the last thing that any company will ever want. Rather, since the employees have clear grounds to complain against the company, perhaps they could report to the public authorities like Ministry of Manpower, which NOC would have to be accountable to as a local business. Objectively speaking, I think the way forward is for both Ryan and Sylvia to seek a mediation center to reconcile their differences privately. We have a mediation center here called the Singapore Mediation Center, SMC, and I believe they have conflict resolution specialists who would hold discussions that would allow each party to be heard fairly and respond appropriately. One thing we should all know about disputes, and that's something I learned from Oprah Winfrey, all disputes come from 3 points of contention. Can you see me? Can you hear me? And does what I say mean anything to you? So by sitting down together, both Ryan and Sylvia could restore their face-to-face communication instead of just arguing against each other through their personal social media accounts. And that checks all the 3 boxes of being able to see each other, being able to hear each other, and being able to say what matters to each other. And I believe that the mediation process could ultimately save their business, time and money in the long run, and preserve their relations. Interestingly, I see that the SMC reports that 70% of all the disputes that came to the center reach full and final settlement. And that's not surprising because dispute parties that are willing to come forward are more likely to be able to settle their issues compared to parties that are not willing to come forward. So with mediation, I think there's a pretty good chance that NOC co-founders could bring their dispute to an end and start building towards the future again. So where I'm coming from, as you probably could tell for these two lessons, is from a corporate MNC context, as I've been working there for a few years already. As far as I know, Ryan and Silver have been running a media production company, which is a local SME business, and they are doing their best of what they feel is right. So they may not be very familiar yet with corporate best practices. So even though there is like a general dislike towards corporate stuff, but it can be good too for business and public interest. Personally, I feel sad to see this happening because NOC has been one of my favorite local content channels. They create high production value shows like Food King, which I look forward to every Friday, and Reno King, which is also another new tasty show that I'm personally interested in because I'll be thinking about renovating my resale HDB when I buy it sometime about next year. And this show started off great, showcasing both Ryan and Sylvia's homes, but it's sad to see that this series won't ever be the same again. So I think that the ending we all need is for both Ryan and Sylvia to jointly announce that they have settled their dispute and then start producing wholesome content moving forward.